You begin by noticing the soft rhythm of your own breathing. Each inhale carries a sense of curiosity, each exhale releases tension, a gentle letting go. Your thoughts, like leaves floating on a slow river, drift with ease. Some are bright and buoyant, shimmering with possibility. Others sink deeper, darkened by shadows of old habits and familiar patterns. Yet you do not chase or push. You simply watch. In this quiet observation, a subtle truth begins to awaken. Your mind is not rigid, it is not confined to the grooves it has always traveled. Imagine your brain as a vast forest at dawn. Tiny shoots of green stretch through the soil, pushing upward toward sunlight. Each neuron, like a sapling, reaches out with delicate branches, axons and dendrites, seeking connection. The spaces between them, once thought empty, are filled with potential pathways, ready to be nurtured. A single thought can spark a new link, a gentle bend, a reshaping of the unseen architecture. These neural trails are not permanent tracks, they are living bridges, capable of growth, pruning, and transformation. You are not merely observing this forest, you are walking within it. Your steps are light, careful, deliberate. With every breath, a gentle pulse of energy moves through your body, and in response, through your mind. Synapses fire quietly, unseen sparks illuminating the forest interior. Some paths glow faintly, memories of familiar ways of thinking. Others lie dormant, hidden beneath layers of moss, waiting for your attention. Here, in this subtle illumination, is the first taste of possibility. Your thoughts can change direction. They can explore new glades, weave across different streams of experience, and reach heights they have never known. Notice how sensation travels through your body, tethered to your mind. The touch of your fingertips, the warmth of your chest, the steadiness of your heartbeat, all resonate like signals through the forest floor, calling neurons to awaken. Each movement, no matter how small, is a form of gentle exercise for the mind. Imagine, with each stretch of your awareness, a branch bending toward sunlight. Each new connection you allow yourself to notice strengthens the structure of your inner world, creating flexibility where there was once rigidity. As you wander further, you encounter areas of stillness, patches where the undergrowth is dense and thick. These are the habits, thoughts, and patterns that have held shape for years. You approach without judgment. Here, change is slow, almost imperceptible. Yet, even in this stillness, the air hums with quiet possibility. You learn to touch these spaces gently, not tearing them down, but inviting them to shift. Neurons respond slowly at first. A slight bend, a tiny connection sparks. Over time, these small movements accumulate into significant transformation, a testament to the brain's remarkable adaptability. Consider the waves of thought that ripple across your mind. Each idea has a weight, a texture, a temperature. Some are light, fluttering like butterflies, easily carried on the current. Others feel heavier, dense, as if the river has slowed to carry them. You do not try to force them along, you allow them to move naturally, noting the path each takes. Your awareness is the gentle current beneath the water, unseen yet powerful. And in this flow, you notice something extraordinary. New pathways begin to emerge spontaneously. They twist, turn, and reconnect, forming bridges where none existed before. Your memory, too, participates in this quiet transformation. Imagine a book with pages that can shift and rearrange themselves. Words and images you thought fixed are now flexible, capable of new combinations, new narratives. Every recollection, every fragment of imagination, is an opportunity for the forest to reshape itself. The neurons that recall joy or sorrow, curiosity or fear, are not static. They are malleable, waiting for the gentle hand of attention and care to guide them toward new alignments. In this space, you sense the delicate balance between effort and ease. You do not need to push your mind into change, rather, you offer curiosity as a soft invitation. Curiosity stretches the neurons like sunlight warms the leaves, coaxing them into gentle growth. Each thought you nurture, each pattern you explore, becomes part of a vast dance of rewiring and reconnect. The forest is alive with possibility, and you, walking through it with awareness, are both observer and participant. Now, turn your attention to the whispers of imagination. They move like a subtle wind, brushing through the branches of your mind. Visualize new pathways forming like hidden streams finding their way to a larger river. These streams are small at first, almost imperceptible, but with patience, they carve meaningful channels. The brain's plasticity is like this. It does not demand grand gestures, only steady attention. Each gentle thought, each mindful observation, guides the shaping of your inner landscape. Notice how your senses enhance this transformation. The sound of your breath, the warmth of light on your skin, the gentle hum of your surroundings, all feed the neural forest with rich stimuli. Each experience, no matter how subtle, strengthens the soil where new connections can take root. Your awareness becomes the gardener, tending to sprouts of potential, offering nourishment, and allowing growth at its own pace. Pause here for a moment, and feel the profound truth settling softly. The mind is not a fixed entity. It is not confined by past experiences, by old beliefs, or by habitual ways of thinking. Each neuron carries potential for change, for creation, for expansion. Even areas that feel rigid or resistant are capable of gentle transformation. This understanding is not intellectual alone, it resonates through your body, your breath, your heartbeat. It is a truth you can feel, not just know. And as you continue your journey through this inner forest, you realize that the practice of noticing, of observing without judgment, is itself an act of shaping your mind. Each gentle attention, each mindful pause, encourages new connections, strengthens pathways, and invites flexibility. The mind is pliable, responsive, capable of growth at any moment, like roots reaching deeper into nourishing soil. Let yourself imagine the possibilities, neurons reaching across unseen gaps, thoughts bending into new forms, memories recombining into unexpected insights. This is the quiet miracle of neuroplasticity, the mind's ability to change itself through gentle care and attention. And here, in the soft unfolding of awareness, you recognize your own role in this transformation, not as a forceful sculptor, but as a tender guide, allowing the forest of your mind to flourish at its own pace. With each breath, each gentle thought, you feel your inner landscape shift. The trees sway slightly, rivers of connection glimmer, and the forest floor glows with subtle light. You are part of this living, flexible system. You witness its quiet rhythms, its infinite capacity for change, and your heart softens with understanding. The mind's adaptability is not a distant promise, it is a present reality, waiting quietly for your attention, your care, your awareness. And as you prepare to leave this chapter of exploration, a sense of calm confidence settles within you. You know that even the smallest gesture of attention can ripple through your neural forest, encouraging growth, flexibility, and renewal. The journey is ongoing, each moment a gentle invitation to discover, to shape, to expand. And as you step toward what comes next, you carry this quiet awareness. Your mind is not fixed, it is a living, breathing landscape, ready for the next adventure, the next gentle revelation, the next whisper of possibility. You step into the forest of your mind, feeling the soft warmth of glowing lanterns hovering over unseen paths. Each light is a neuron, pulsing gently, like fireflies caught in slow motion. As you walk, you notice the trails of light stretching ahead, winding between tall, quiet trees. Every path you follow hums with a faint energy, a memory, a thought, a feeling. They flicker softly when you approach, as if acknowledging your presence. With each step, you realize that these trails were not always here. Some are new, laid carefully by moments you barely remember. A kind word, a challenge met, a question asked aloud, each moment leaves its imprint, a faint glow marking the terrain of your mind. You pause, tracing a trail with your fingers, feeling the warmth it leaves behind. Every experience you have ever had has a path here, some bright and easy to follow, others shadowed and twisting. The forest is alive, not in a roaring, untamed way, but in a gentle, constant hum. You notice how paths sometimes cross, intertwining like streams merging into rivers. A memory of your childhood meets a thought from yesterday, and together they create a new, subtle glow. You see patterns forming, networks that were once isolated now connecting, reshaping the forest's map. This is neuroplasticity, the quiet magic of your brain learning and adapting, never static, always growing. You stop by a particularly bright lantern. It flickers in a rhythm that matches your breath, almost as if the forest itself is breathing with you. You lean closer, feeling a faint warmth of recognition. This path is familiar, well-worn, strengthened by repeated travel. Perhaps it is a skill you practiced for years, or a habit of thought that returns naturally. You can feel the resilience here, the strength of repetition. The path is not rigid, it bends slightly, flexible yet enduring. It teaches that consistency, even gentle, cultivates structure in the mind. Turning from this well-lit trail, you notice the dimmer corners of the forest. They are quieter, less defined, but they pulse with possibility. These are the paths of new experiences, the lanterns waiting to be lit. You reach out with your mind, imagining stepping onto these trails. Each attempt to explore, to think differently, to face uncertainty, sends a flicker of light along these dormant paths. Slowly, Almost imperceptibly, they begin to glow, signaling the birth of a new connection. You feel the subtle thrill of potential, the quiet invitation to grow. Every time you navigate a path, your forest responds. Synapses fire, electric sparks traveling from one neuron to another, like tiny currents flowing through the lanterns. Some sparks fade quickly, while others linger, reinforcing the path. You realize that your attention is a gentle sculptor here, choosing which connections strengthen and which dissolve. The forest does not judge, it only responds. Your curiosity, your focus, your reflection, these are the water and sunlight that nourish the trails, shaping the forest's intricate design. You find a clearing where many trails converge, and for a moment, the forest seems to open into a quiet cathedral of light. You notice patterns forming like constellations. One thought about the past twinkles in resonance with a hope for tomorrow. A lesson learned glimmers alongside a question still unanswered. The connections feel like music, a symphony of possibility playing softly in the background of your mind. You feel that this forest, vast and intricate, holds not only memories and knowledge, but also your capacity for imagination and creativity. The gentle wind rustles unseen leaves, carrying a whisper of change. Your mind is not fixed, it bends and sways like the branches above. Each thought you nurture, each emotion you explore, strengthens some paths and reshapes others. Even mistakes leave traces, faint glowing marks that teach without judgment. You begin to understand that every experience, every reflection, every quiet moment of attention, is part of a dialogue with your forest. Your mind grows not only in knowledge, but in wisdom and depth. You move along a trail that climbs gradually, winding upward through soft light. Here, you notice how challenges shape the forest differently from comfort. Where you stretch yourself, lanterns flicker with determination, their glow brightening as if cheering your efforts. Paths that once seemed fragile now pulse with resilience. The forest shows you that effort and perseverance are like gentle gardeners, cultivating strength without harshness. Growth is not always immediate, but persistent tending brings luminous results. Alongside a stream of sparkling thought, you pause to reflect. The water mirrors the lanterns above, fracturing their glow into countless tiny reflections. You watch as a single thought divides into multiple possibilities, each one exploring a slightly different direction. Your mind is like this water, flexible, fluid, endlessly branching. And just like the stream, the paths can converge again, new ideas blending, reinforcing, illuminating more than they did alone. You feel the deep harmony of connection, the quiet joy of mental exploration. The forest is alive with stories. Some trails carry narratives of fear and courage, love and loss. Others hum with curiosity, invention, and wonder. Each experience leaves a mark, each connection strengthens or shifts with use. You sense that you are both the wanderer and the gardener here. Every moment of reflection, every conscious act of learning, shapes the forest. And yet, the forest grows beyond your control, mysterious and surprising. Sometimes a new path emerges where you least expect, a lantern flickering in the distance, waiting to be discovered. You sit on a soft patch of moss, letting the glow of countless trails wash over you. The forest feels vast, yet intimate, a reflection of your inner world. Each connection, each spark of thought, resonates with life and learning. You notice how your attention gently guides the brightness of the lanterns, shaping the paths with care rather than force. And in this quiet observation, you understand a profound truth. Your mind is not a fixed map, but a living landscape, endlessly responsive, endlessly beautiful. As you rise and continue your journey, you notice the subtle shift in light and rhythm. Paths that were once dim now glow softly, beckoning exploration. The forest promises more than memory or knowledge. It offers growth, resilience, and the quiet thrill of discovery. You feel the pulse of connection, the gentle hum of learning, and the soft promise that every step you take reshapes the forest a little more. And as the path stretches ahead, you sense that new trails await, ones that will challenge, inspire, and illuminate in ways you cannot yet see. Your forest, alive with lanterns, hums softly, guiding you toward the next mystery, the next whisper of understanding, as the journey quietly continues. You close your eyes and notice the subtle rhythm of your breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Each breath is like a gentle tide, ebbing and flowing, washing over the intricate landscapes of your mind. In this quiet, you become aware of the soft hum of activity beneath your thoughts, the electrical whispers of neurons connecting, disconnecting, whispering in patterns that only your consciousness begins to understand. Your brain, you realize, is not a static fortress but a living river, ever shaping and reshaping its path. Old trails, worn from repeated thought, memory, and habit, remain familiar. They feel safe, comforting, predictable. Yet, beneath the surface, new paths are quietly forming, tentative as shoots of grass pushing through soil, delicate but persistent. You do not need to force them, you simply allow your attention to wander and linger, noticing the spaces where change might gently bloom. Each memory you touch, each skill you practice, is a thread woven into a vast tapestry. Some threads fray and fade over time, while others knot tightly, binding pieces of your experience together. The act of focusing your mind, however small, pulls threads closer, encourages them to tangle in new ways, to form patterns not seen before. There is artistry in this quiet remodeling, a subtle, patient elegance. You are both observer and creator, watching your inner landscape shift while gently guiding it toward new possibilities. Neurons, those tiny spark bringers, fire in rhythmic harmony. They exchange messages through chemical whispers, tiny electrical surges that shape the architecture of your thoughts. Each thought is a vibration in this network, each choice a step along a hidden path. When you pause to notice, when you bring gentle awareness to the flow of your mind, these paths can bend, twist, and reach places that were previously out of view. Consider how a habit forms. At first, it is fragile, like a thin stream of water tracing a mark in the sand. Repetition carves a channel, sometimes deep enough to feel permanent. But no channel is ever fixed. The water can divert, the sand can shift. Similarly, your brain retains its capacity to reroute, to experiment with new ways of responding, perceiving, and understanding. You are not defined by old circuits alone. You are, in every moment, the possibility of a new pattern emerging. As you visualize this, imagine your attention as a soft, golden light moving across a darkened landscape. It illuminates some areas, leaving others in shadow. Each area touched by light is a place of growth, where neurons meet and spark in a quiet conversation. Some sparks are bright, bold, and immediate, while others are dim, slow to ignite, but no less important. Your patience is the rain that nourishes these connections, letting them take root and flourish. You notice how effortlessly your mind creates metaphors, how it shapes reality into imagery. Learning, in this way, is not simply the intake of information but a dance of creation, where old knowledge intertwines with new insights. Each thought, each moment of reflection, is a gentle brushstroke on the ever-evolving canvas of your mind. You are not painting a final masterpiece, rather, you are practicing an ongoing art, where the joy lies in the process, in the subtle unfolding of possibility. Mistakes are not disruptions but opportunities. When a connection falters or a memory fades, it does not signify failure, it is merely space for something new to grow. You may notice a pattern of thought that no longer serves you, a habitual reaction that feels heavy. With the quiet awareness you bring, you allow it to soften, to relax, to release. Your brain, in response, begins to form alternative paths, bridging areas once isolated, knitting together what was once fragmented. Your attention is the gentle sculptor of this inner terrain. When you focus on a sensation, a concept, or a feeling, neurons respond with quiet enthusiasm. Synapses strengthen, networks reorganize. The brain, far from being rigid, delights in novelty, seeking patterns that surprise, challenge, or inspire. And you, in your calm observance, are the partner in this subtle dance. You are both witness and participant, both gardener and gardenered, in the unfolding of neural possibility. Imagine now a single neuron reaching out its tiny branch, seeking a partner. Another branch meets it. A spark passes. Connection is born. Multiply this by billions, and you see the forest of your mind alive with silent activity, reshaping itself in response to the smallest acts of attention, the gentlest shifts in awareness. You are present in this forest, walking its paths, noticing where light filters through, where shadows hold secrets, where movement is slow but profound. Time in this space feels different. It is not measured in minutes or hours, but in the quiet unfolding of subtle changes. You notice that a single breath, a single pause, can ripple across your mental landscape, loosening tension, inviting flexibility, creating room for new patterns to emerge. The brain is exquisitely patient, and when you match that patience with your own, transformation becomes a gentle, natural process. You may recall a skill you once learned but set aside. Perhaps a language, a melody, a gesture, a technique. As you imagine returning to it, notice how the neurons remember, how faint pathways flicker back to life. Memory is not lost, it is waiting, quietly available, ready to reconnect when called upon. Each time you engage with it, each time you practice awareness, you reinforce a delicate architecture, letting old threads intertwine with new growth. Even emotions, you realize, are sculpted by this interplay. Patterns of thought influence how feelings rise and fall, shaping the brain's landscape as surely as physical repetition shapes muscle. Compassion, curiosity, patience, they are not abstract ideals but tangible circuits, strengthened by attention, enriched by experience. As you cultivate them within yourself, you allow your mind to reflect a world that is gentle, expansive, and alive with possibility. In this quiet practice, you notice the beauty of impermanence. Just as rivers carve new courses, just as seasons shift, just as the tides rise and fall, your mind is never fixed. Old patterns fade, new patterns bloom. There is grace in this flexibility, a rhythm that mirrors the natural world outside your window. The mind, like the earth, is always in motion, and your awareness is the lens through which you witness its transformation. Every habit, every memory, every skill, is a brushstroke on the canvas of your consciousness. Some strokes are deliberate, others accidental. Some form intricate patterns, others dissolve almost immediately. Yet all contribute to the unfolding masterpiece, one that is never finished, never static. And in this unfolding, there is comfort. You are part of a slow, beautiful process, a constant becoming that is both scientific and poetic. As you linger in this awareness, notice how your mind feels lighter, more spacious. Old circuits relax, new ones reach tentatively toward connection. The brain is both patient and resilient, and in this patience, you find yourself mirrored. You too are capable of change, capable of adaptation, capable of gentle growth. Each moment of attention, each conscious pause, each reflective thought is a contribution to the art of your own neural landscape. And as your mind breathes, reshapes, and softens, you sense the rhythm of possibility. You are not rushing to completion, nor striving for perfection. You are present, observing, guiding, and letting the brain do what it does best: adapt, connect, and transform. Each spark, each synapse, each quiet ripple of thought is a reminder that growth is ongoing, that the mind is endlessly creative, endlessly flexible, endlessly alive. You rest in this space, feeling the slow, deliberate pulse of neural transformation, the gentle weaving of old and new, the quiet artistry of your brain remodeling itself. And as your awareness drifts, soft and unhurried, you carry a question forward, like a feather on a current. What new possibilities might arise when attention becomes the brushstroke, and patience the artist? You sit quietly in the gentle stillness of your own mind, and you notice the world behind your eyes, where thoughts rise like morning mist. Here, in the hidden spaces of your brain, there is a quiet energy, a subtle stirring that carries the seeds of every idea you have ever held. Tiny sparks jump between neurons, dancing in the synaptic spaces, each one a delicate whisper that says, "You can learn. You can grow. You can change." Imagine a vast forest of delicate branches, each one reaching out, touching another, forming invisible networks that cradle the light of understanding. In these networks, neurons reach across microscopic gaps, stretching their arms to meet their neighbors. When they touch, a spark leaps, a connection made. It is not fire that burns, but possibility itself, a gentle illumination that hints at the unfolding of knowledge. Every spark is a moment of awareness, a small flicker of insight that waits patiently to grow into something larger. As you breathe slowly, you feel the rhythm of your own mind echoing the rhythm of this process. Each inhalation carries curiosity, each exhalation lets go of tension. Repetition, gentle and patient, fans these sparks into brighter flames. When you practice a thought, an idea, or a skill over and over, you are not simply exercising your memory, you are weaving the threads of these neuronal fires together, creating pathways that glow a little more each time. You may not notice it in the moment, but these repeated sparks form trails, maps of understanding etched in the soft, living tissue of your mind. Pause, for a moment, and imagine the neurons as dancers in a quiet ballroom. Each movement is precise and slow, yet full of potential. When one dancer reaches out and another responds, a tiny light ignites, visible only to the inner eye. You watch this dance without judgment, allowing the choreography to unfold in its own time. Some movements are swift and fleeting, sparks that come and go, while others linger, embers that wait patiently in the shadows, ready to glow brighter when touched again. Rest is as essential as repetition. After a day filled with learning, after ideas have been stretched and sparks have danced, the mind enters a softer state. In rest, embers glow quietly, consolidating experiences, strengthening connections that seemed fragile moments before. Sleep is not simply the absence of activity, it is the stage on which your synaptic fires grow into a coherent symphony. Imagine a forest at twilight, where each spark of light gathers in quiet clusters, illuminating paths that will guide you when morning arrives. Notice how each thought carries a subtle weight, yet also a lightness. Learning is not a burden but a gentle shaping of the internal landscape. The brain, in its wisdom, does not rush. It experiments, flickers, rests, and then flickers again. In this rhythm, there is no failure, only cycles of refinement. You see how mistakes are not endings, but sparks that redirect, adjusting the choreography of neurons, guiding them toward more harmonious movements. There is poetry here, a quiet music of growth that plays beneath every conscious thought. Picture the tiny chemical messengers that carry signals across synapses. They are couriers of possibility, moving with deliberate intent, conveying the language of learning. With each spark, they leave traces, invisible signatures that say, here is a path worth traveling again. Each time you practice, each time you reflect, each time you allow yourself to rest, these signatures grow stronger. The forest of neurons expands, its branches thickening, its roots sinking deeper, until your understanding feels natural, intertwined with the very structure of your mind. Even the quiet moments of stillness contribute. When you sit in meditation or gentle awareness, you give the brain the gift of observation. In this observation, tiny sparks continue their silent work. They do not demand attention, yet they shape the pathways that will be followed later. You are learning even when you are doing nothing. The mind is never truly idle. It is a garden where seeds of knowledge sprout quietly beneath the surface, nourished by curiosity and reflection. Consider the interplay between focus and distraction. When your attention rests on a single idea, sparks fly more rapidly, connections strengthen, and pathways illuminate more clearly. When your mind wanders, the sparks still move, but they trace different patterns, exploring corners that may have remained hidden. Both states are valuable, each contributing to the richness of the synaptic landscape. There is no need to control every spark. Some of the most profound insights arise when the mind is allowed to drift gently, following the paths of curiosity. Feel the softness of this process, the gentleness with which the brain nurtures itself. Unlike the sharp edges of the outside world, inside the skull there is patience and care. Each neuron is both delicate and resilient, capable of forming countless connections over a lifetime. The brain is a living map of experience, forever flexible, forever capable of transformation. This is neuroplasticity in motion, the quiet symphony of change that continues as long as you are willing to notice, to spark, to rest. And now, let your mind wander to the idea of memory. Each spark, each connection, leaves a trace. Memories are not fixed photographs but living patterns of light, shaped by repetition, reflection, and rest. The more you revisit an idea, the brighter it shines, the more vivid it becomes. But even the faint sparks, those that seem to flicker and fade, are never lost. They remain in the hidden corridors of the mind, waiting to illuminate understanding when the time is right. You are witnessing a universe within yourself, vast and luminous. Tiny sparks are constantly leaping across synapses, each one a tiny miracle of biology and possibility. The brain's quiet orchestra plays on, each spark a note in a melody that is both ancient and immediate. There is wonder here, in the intricate dance of neurons, in the patient shaping of connections that underlie thought, learning, and memory. You do not need to hurry, the sparks will find their rhythm, guided by repetition, rest, and gentle attention. As you settle deeper into this awareness, notice the softness of the glow within. The brain's synaptic fires are not harsh or intrusive, they are subtle, gentle, and full of promise. You are part of this process, not separate from it. Each experience you allow yourself, each moment of practice, each period of rest, contributes to the quiet symphony unfolding inside. There is beauty in this ongoing creation, a beauty that requires no applause, only observation and presence. And so, you drift with the sparks, aware of the delicate energy that surrounds each thought. Repetition fans the flame, rest allows embers to grow, and the dance continues without end. You realize that learning is not a destination but a journey, a rhythm of flickers and pauses, of sparks and glows. The brain itself becomes a storyteller, crafting tales in light and connection, inviting you to witness the quiet wonder of change. And as the night deepens, you notice how these tiny sparks, these gentle fires of possibility, hint at something more, how they will soon illuminate the patterns of creativity that stretch beyond memory, beyond thought, into the world of imagination. As you lie back, eyes closed, imagine your mind as a quiet garden in early morning light. The air is soft, the soil damp with possibility, and each thought a delicate vine curling toward the sun. Here, in this garden, every challenge is not a burden but a gentle stretch of a newly waking limb. Your mind moves slowly, like water tracing the contours of a smooth stone, exploring, feeling, noticing where resistance lives, and learning how to flow around it. Each obstacle you encounter is a tender invitation. Picture a small, low branch across a forest path. At first, it might seem cumbersome, a simple interference in your walk. But as you reach for it, bend around it, or step over it, your body feels its own strength and flexibility. In the same way, your mind learns to navigate new problems, weaving through them with curiosity rather than strain. There is a rhythm here, a pulse of gentle challenge and responsive adaptation. Every time you confront the unfamiliar, your neurons twine in new patterns, forming connections that did not exist before. Notice how novelty calls you. A fresh puzzle, a strange sound, a question that tickles the edges of understanding. All are subtle exercises, like stretching your fingers after sleep. You feel each extension in your awareness. A new idea reaches out, a concept curls into place, and your thoughts feel slightly longer, more capable. The mind, in its softness and patience, strengthens quietly. It does not rush, it does not strain. It listens to the limits of its flexibility and nudges just beyond them, learning without judgment, growing without force. Even mistakes become gentle teachers. Imagine a seed that falls on rocky soil. At first, it seems hopeless, the rock obstructing its growth. Yet the seed pushes, seeking a sliver of light, a patch of moisture. Slowly, over time, it finds a way to root itself. In the same tender way, errors in thought or action guide you. You notice where the branch was too high, the path too tricky, and adjust. Each misstep is a soft nudge, reminding your mind of its capacity to bend, to redirect, to explore again with quiet confidence. You may feel your thoughts stretching in unusual directions, like a cat arching in the warmth of the sun. There is a pleasure in this elongation, a comfort in the slow expansion of your own awareness. You begin to sense that intelligence is not simply the accumulation of facts, but the growing elasticity of thought. How far can your mind reach? How softly can it extend and still return to balance? Every question you entertain, every curiosity you indulge, becomes a gentle practice of flexibility. Consider the neurons themselves, tiny highways of light within your brain. When you face something new, they fire and connect in unfamiliar ways. The more you explore, the more intricate the pathways become, forming loops, bridges, and gentle spirals of thought. This growth is not harsh or hurried. It is rhythmic, like tides pulling at the shore, leaving behind small treasures of understanding. You feel the pulse of your own neural tide, subtle, persistent, shaping the contours of your mind. In this moment, notice your breathing, calm and steady, as if each inhale draws a soft thread of curiosity into your mind, and each exhale lets go of tension or self-criticism. Challenges no longer loom as threats, they are invitations to stretch, to feel, to experiment. Even when the task is difficult, there is a quiet comfort in knowing that the act of trying itself strengthens your intelligence, like gentle exercise fortifying a long-sleeping muscle. Imagine walking through a room of mirrors, each reflection a different perspective of your thought. Some mirrors tilt the view slightly, others reverse it completely. You move slowly, observing, learning which reflections reveal hidden possibilities and which distort your understanding. This is the art of cognitive stretching, seeing not only what is directly in front of you, but also the angles you did not know existed. Your mind becomes supple, able to shift effortlessly between viewpoints, learning the subtle dance of adaptation. Every idea you encounter carries a rhythm, a tempo of learning. Some thoughts are quick, fleeting sparks that ignite curiosity and vanish. Others linger, deep and slow, inviting you to follow them gently, step by step, until they reveal a hidden pattern. You sense that your intelligence is measured not by the speed of discovery but by the grace with which you allow your mind to expand. In this meditative exploration, the pleasure is in the process itself, the slow unfolding of awareness, the soft bending and lengthening of mental fibers, the gentle broadening of perspective. You might feel a warmth now, a sensation that your mental muscles are stretching in harmony with your body. Each new challenge, each novel question, becomes a small adventure. The brain is not rigid, it thrives on this subtle tension, this mild effort. Just as a tree's branches extend toward sunlight, your mind reaches toward understanding, flexible yet firm. You notice that intelligence is a living thing, responsive and resilient, nourished by curiosity and patience rather than pressure. As you drift further into this reflective state, consider how small steps lead to profound growth. You do not need to leap or strain, each gentle extension matters. A single question asked softly, a single puzzle approached with calm, becomes a bridge to new mental landscapes. Your mind stretches not only for answers but for the quiet joy of exploring, discovering its own capability to expand without force. You sense the comforting rhythm, a little challenge, a little adjustment, a little growth, over and over again. Even when the path is uncertain, even when mistakes occur or progress seems slow, you are participating in a gentle dance of development. Intelligence is not static, it is alive, like water flowing around stones, shaping and reshaping its course. You are part of this flow, moving with curiosity, stretching with patience, learning to appreciate the subtle nudges that guide your mind toward flexibility. And now, as your awareness softens, you feel a gentle anticipation, a whisper of what lies ahead. The stretching, the bending, the learning, has prepared your mind for the next subtle journey. Questions begin to form, quiet and tender, about the unseen connections between all these growing thoughts. You feel the pulse of curiosity lingering, a soft reminder that expansion is ongoing, that understanding is a path without end. Night falls like a curtain, soft and unhurried, drawing the world into a gentle stillness. The hum of the day slows, and your body begins its quiet descent into rest. Beneath the surface of your awareness, something remarkable unfolds. Sleep, though it feels like absence, is in truth a hidden performance of restoration. Within the silence of your slumber, your brain works with subtle mastery, weaving together fragments of experience, repairing what has frayed, and shaping the pathways that help you carry knowledge forward. You lie here, eyes closed, as your breath becomes steady and slow. With every inhale, the body gathers calm. With every exhale, the mind lets go of clutter. And then, like tides guided by the moon, you drift into sleep's first cycle. This is no random fall, but a rhythmic passage through stages, each carrying its own purpose. In the light stages, your awareness gently loosens, as if untying knots. Muscles soften, the heartbeat calms, and the senses grow distant. Already, your brain begins sifting through the noise of the day, preparing to decide what stays and what drifts away. Deeper still, you enter the slow wave sleep, a realm where brain activity stretches out in broad, unhurried rhythms, like waves rolling upon a dark shore. Here, cells take time to repair themselves, washing away metabolic byproducts, the quiet housekeeping of the nervous system. Glial cells, often overlooked, awaken to their own task, cleansing the brain, clearing space for clarity when morning comes. It is as though the mind, so crowded with daylight impressions, now sweeps its floors and opens its windows. But this cleansing is only part of the artistry. Sleep is not only about repair, it is about refinement. During these slow, deep phases, the brain rehearses the patterns of learning. If you practiced a melody on the piano, your sleeping mind plays it back, polishing the movements of your fingers in silence. If you studied new words, neurons replay them like whispers, strengthening the fragile bridges of memory until they become sturdy pathways. The brain does this without your command, as if a patient gardener, pruning branches, encouraging some shoots to grow and letting others fall away. And then comes the mystery of REM, the rapid eye movement stage, where dreams unfurl. Your closed eyes flicker beneath their lids, as if following scenes invisible to waking sight. In REM, the brain is paradoxically active, its energy levels mirroring those of wakefulness. But here, the theater is inward. Memories are lifted, combined, reshaped. A face you saw in childhood merges with a street from yesterday, emotions weave themselves into unlikely narratives. What appears chaotic is, in truth, a form of integration. REM sleep links the emotional with the factual, the remembered with the imagined, so that when you wake, you carry not only knowledge but also perspective. Science shows us that without sleep, the brain struggles to learn. A sleepless night leaves new information fragile, easily forgotten. It is as if seeds were scattered but never pressed into soil. With sleep, however, the soil is prepared, the seeds watered. Neural connections thicken, roots deepen. The artistry of sleep lies not in mere storage, but in transformation, turning moments into meaning, fragments into coherence. You may think of your brain during sleep as a library after hours. By day, books are pulled from shelves, scattered on tables, notes scribbled in margins. But when the lights dim, librarians move quietly through the aisles. They reshelve, reorder, decide what belongs and what can be discarded. Some books are carefully polished and placed in prominent sections, while others are retired to storage or recycled entirely. When morning comes, the library is ready again, orderly, renewed. Consider, too, how sleep touches not only memory but also creativity. Many discoveries, from scientific insights to artistic visions, have arrived in dreams or in the moments just before waking. Sleep does not simply preserve, it recombines. A puzzle unsolved by day may find its solution by night, because the mind, freed from the strict rules of logic, allows distant ideas to meet. What seems rigidly separate in daylight finds harmony in darkness. In this way, your sleeping brain is not a passive recorder but an active composer, blending the known with the possible. Meanwhile, the body follows its own rhythm. Hormones flow in cycles timed to your rest. Growth hormone, released in deep sleep, mends tissues, strengthens bones, and supports the quiet labor of cells. The immune system, too, is sharpened, preparing its defenses against future threats. While you lie motionless, your body becomes a workshop of repair and readiness. Morning vitality is not conjured from nothing, it is crafted in these unseen hours, stitch by stitch, cell by cell. And yet, perhaps most astonishing is how sleep balances letting go with holding on. Not every experience deserves a permanent place in memory. Imagine if every passing thought, every trivial detail, remained with equal weight. Your mind would be overwhelmed, crowded beyond use. Sleep ensures this does not happen. It filters, discards, chooses. Some impressions are gently released, dissolving into the dark like ink in water. Others are etched deeper, made part of the enduring story of who you are. This balance carries wisdom. You do not need everything, you need enough, and you need clarity. Sleep provides both. It is a sculptor, chiseling away at raw stone until form emerges. What you awaken with is not merely the past preserved, but the past shaped into something you can carry forward. As you listen, imagine yourself adrift on a slow current. Around you, fragments of thought float like leaves on water. Some drift near, settle beside you, become part of your vessel. Others slip away downstream, never to return. You do not chase them. The river itself decides, guided by the hidden currents of your sleeping mind. By morning, you find yourself lighter, clearer, steadier. This silent artistry, repeated night after night, allows you to learn, to adapt, to imagine. It gives resilience to your body and coherence to your mind. Without it, the world becomes blurred, decisions falter, emotions swell ungoverned. With it, you are restored, your inner world made whole again. And yet, even with all science can tell us, there remains a mystery in sleep. For while we know its cycles, its patterns, its effects, we cannot fully grasp its essence. What is it, truly, to dream? What secret landscapes do you traverse when your eyes flicker in I am? Where does the self go, when consciousness dissolves into shadow? These questions drift just beyond reach, waiting at the edge of waking. You rest, knowing that tonight, once again, your brain will replay, reshape, renew. It will polish your memories, soften your emotions, and plant new seeds of understanding. And tomorrow, though you may not recall the workings of the night, you will rise carrying its gifts. For now, you lie in stillness, carried by sleep's tide. And as you drift further, the boundary between memory and dream begins to blur, inviting you into the next chapter, into the quiet wonder of dreaming itself. You close your eyes and take a breath, soft and unhurried. In the quiet, you become aware of something you often forget. Your body is not separate from your mind. They move together, in harmony, like two dancers tracing the same rhythm. The dance is not loud or showy. It is subtle, a weaving of tiny signals, invisible pathways of energy and light, flowing through your nervous system. Your brain, that remarkable organ, does not sit in isolation. It is a conductor, yes, but a conductor whose music depends on every instrument in its orchestra. Your senses are the violins, the flutes, the drums. Each one carries a different note, and together they create the melody of your experience. The faint brush of your clothing on your skin, the whisper of air against your face, the scent lingering in the room, all of these are signals. You rarely notice them all, but they are always there, painting the edges of your awareness. When you pause to listen, you discover that your senses are not just passive windows. They are active partners, shaping the way you think, the way you feel, the way you grow. Imagine touch. The simplest sensation, fingertips grazing a surface. Within that moment, thousands of receptors awaken. They send messages into the spinal cord, where signals rise upward like sparks in the dark. Your brain receives them not as raw data, but as meaning, soft, rough, warm, cool. In this way, you learn without words. The fabric of the world enters you, reshaping the circuits of your mind. Now imagine sound. A bird's call, distant and gentle. Vibrations travel through the air, press against your eardrum, and ripple inward through delicate bones, into fluid-filled chambers coiled like seashells. Here, hair-like receptors sway with the rhythm of the waves. Each movement becomes electricity, and once again, the brain translates vibration into melody, into song, into recognition. From these invisible waves, your mind constructs the music of life. Sight, too, is a miracle. Light, streaming from the sun or from a lamp, bounces off objects and lands upon your retinas. There, tiny receptors, rods and cones, respond to brightness, to color, to form. The information travels through neural highways, converging in the brain's visual cortex. But what you see is never just light. You see memory, association, imagination. A flower is not just petals and color, it is the fragrance of a memory, the warmth of a past day, the stirrings of a thought you did not know you carried. Smell may be the most ancient sense of all. A single inhalation carries invisible molecules that slip into your nose, where receptors wait like locks for keys. When a match is found, a signal leaps directly to regions of the brain tied to memory and emotion. This is why a single scent can unravel years in an instant. The fragrance of bread may carry you back to childhood, the trace of rain may remind you of love, of loss, of beginnings. Smell bypasses words. It moves straight into feeling. And then taste, the final note in this human orchestra. Sweetness, saltiness, bitterness, sourness, savoriness, all discovered by clusters of cells on your tongue. Yet taste is rarely alone. It mingles with smell, with touch, with memory. A simple meal becomes a story told across multiple senses, each contributing its voice to the whole. All of these senses weave into your intelligence. Intelligence is not confined to problem-solving or calculation. It is the capacity to be aware, to integrate, to respond with grace. A mind without senses is like an orchestra without instruments. It may know the notes, but it cannot play the song. As you sit quietly now, you can feel this truth. Intelligence is not a cold machine of thought. It is warm, embodied, alive. It is the sound of your heartbeat echoing softly in your ears. It is the balance that lets you stand upright, the coordination that lets you move, the subtle awareness that lets you feel another's presence even without words. Scientists call this integration of senses and brain networks multisensory processing. But you do not need the name to feel it. Every time you sip tea and notice both the taste and the warmth, every time you hear a voice and sense the emotion behind it, you are living proof of this union. And there is more. With gentle attention, you can amplify this orchestra. When you slow down and listen, to the hum of silence, to the rustle of leaves, you invite hidden connections in the brain to grow stronger. Neuroscientists speak of neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to rewire itself. Attention is the sculptor. Each moment of awareness carves new patterns, like hands shaping clay. Consider mindfulness, the simple act of noticing. When you notice the weight of your body on the chair, when you notice the rhythm of your breath, you are training your brain. Circuits involved in focus, in calm, in emotional balance. These circuits strengthen, like muscles exercised through repetition. The orchestra becomes more coordinated, the music more harmonious. And so intelligence expands. Not through faster thinking alone, but through deeper sensing. Through the ability to rest in presence, to perceive the richness of each moment. Your body and mind, once thought of as separate, reveal themselves as one dance, one song. There is no need to force it. The orchestra plays whether or not you listen. But when you choose to listen, you discover that the ordinary is extraordinary. The feel of fabric, the sound of breath, the play of light on the wall, each is a doorway into greater connection. You might wonder, what does it mean for growth, for creativity, for being fully human? The answer lies not in speed or in control, but in harmony. The more you sense, the more fully you live. The more you live, the more intelligence unfolds, not as competition, but as compassion, as curiosity, as wonder. The symphony of the brain is never finished. It is improvisation, always adjusting, always learning. Each new experience adds an instrument, a note, a rhythm. And you, the listener, are also the composer. You pause, breathing gently, noticing how even in stillness, the music continues. You sense the orchestra playing softly inside you, each instrument in quiet balance. You realize that to be alive is to be part of this unfolding performance. And as you drift deeper into this thought, you begin to wonder what lies beyond the senses, what hidden layers of the brain, what unseen harmonies, might be waiting in silence. You rest here, in a quiet space, allowing the body to soften. The breath drifts gently in and out, carrying with it a sense of stillness. Within this quiet, something subtle is happening, an invisible shaping of the mind. Just as rivers carve valleys over ages, your thoughts, your actions, and your awareness are slowly etching patterns into the architecture of your brain. This is the essence of neuroplasticity, the brain's lifelong ability to adapt, to rewire, to strengthen or to soften its connections. Once, science believed that the brain hardened with age, like stone cooling into permanence. But now we know it is more like a living forest, always shifting, always capable of renewal. Every choice you make, every practice you return to, is like planting a seed in that forest. Some seeds grow into tall oaks of habit. Others, left unattended, fade back into the soil. You are sculpting yourself, slowly, with each moment of awareness. When you pause to breathe, when you choose to notice instead of rushing past, you are teaching the nervous system a new rhythm. The amygdala, that small almond-shaped sentinel of fear and vigilance, learns to soften its grip. The prefrontal cortex, seat of attention and planning, strengthens its pathways of calm focus. Each gentle practice, whether a minute of mindful stillness or a slow walk beneath the trees, is a chisel stroke against the stone of old patterns. Consider meditation. To sit quietly, guiding the mind back again and again to the breath or to sound, is not simply an escape from the world. It is exercise. Each return is like a repetition in the gym, tiny, invisible lifts that reshape synapses. Studies show that with regular practice, the brain's gray matter in regions of learning and memory thickens. The stress centers thin. You may not see it, but you feel it, greater spaciousness inside, more room to respond instead of react. And movement, movement is another brush on this inner canvas. When you walk, when you stretch, when you dance even gently in your room, the brain awakens to rhythm. New neurons spark to life in the hippocampus, the keeper of memory. Exercise floods the system with neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, that nourish resilience. The mind, so often caught in loops of worry, finds itself refreshed, like a stream cleansed by rainfall. Curiosity, too, is a sculptor's tool. To ask questions, to explore without demand for answers, keeps the brain supple. Imagine a child at play, stacking blocks, knocking them down, giggling at the surprise. That spirit of wonder does not vanish with age, it waits to be invited back. Each time you learn a new skill, read a new story, or listen to a perspective different from your own, fresh circuits spark. Dendrites branch like young shoots reaching for light. The landscape of the mind becomes richer, more diverse, more alive. These practices are not dramatic. They are not revolutions. They are like drops of dew collecting slowly on leaves. On their own, they seem small. But gathered over weeks, months, years, they shape rivers, carve valleys, alter the very flow of thought. What you repeat, you become. What you nourish, grows. Pause here and imagine your brain as a vast meadow at dawn. Some paths are well-trodden, familiar loops of worry, or perhaps reflexive patterns of self-criticism. These are tracks worn deep by years of walking. But nearby, there is open grass, soft earth where new trails may be made. Each time you choose awareness over distraction, compassion over judgment, or curiosity over fear, you take a step into that open field. At first, the grass bends only lightly. But step after step, the path becomes visible. The old track fades. The new one deepens. This is how resilience is built, not in grand transformations, but in the patient repetition of gentle steps. Science shows us this with clarity. London taxi drivers, trained to memorize the city's intricate web of streets, develop an enlarged hippocampus. Musicians, practicing for years, alter the structure of their auditory and motor cortices. Survivors of trauma who learn mindfulness and breath work find measurable calming of their stress circuits. The brain is not a fixed machine, it is clay, pliable, receptive to touch. And you, here and now, are the sculptor. Every moment of mindfulness is a small act of rebellion against autopilot. To notice the warmth of your tea before sipping. To pause when anger rises, and soften the breath instead of the voice. To rest your gaze on the horizon and remember that you, too, are part of something vast. These are micro-practices, but their imprint is real. You may think change is slow, almost invisible. And it is. But slowness is its strength. Sudden storms may flood the land, but it is the quiet persistence of water that shapes mountains. Your small, repeated choices, an evening walk, a gentle breath, a moment of gratitude, are the streams that carve your inner landscape. Even mistakes, even lapses, belong to the process. Neuroplasticity does not ask for perfection, it asks for return. Again and again, you return. Like a sculptor who chips, then steps back, then chips again. The form emerges not from speed but from presence. So tonight, as you drift in stillness, consider the subtle ways you have already reshaped yourself. The patience you did not once have. The strength that surprises you. The softness that grew in place of sharpness. These are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of your practice, pressed gently into the clay of the mind. Tomorrow, you will sculpt again. With your breath, with your movements, with your questions. And though you may not see the change immediately, it is there, waiting, building, collecting like morning dew on the quiet leaves. You are not fixed. You are becoming. And just as your mind shapes itself, it also shapes how you meet the world. Your resilience ripples outward, to how you speak, how you listen, how you hold the silence between words. Each neural pathway you strengthen is not only for you but for the web of connection around you. The landscape of your mind becomes part of the landscape of the world. So rest now, with the knowledge that every choice matters. Not with pressure, not with urgency, but with quiet assurance. You are sculpting yourself. You are shaping the valleys and rivers of thought, carving space for peace, for resilience, for wonder. And as the chapter closes, another question rises softly. If each small practice can reshape the brain, what then does the vast flow of memory and time do to the tapestry of who you are? You rest within the hush of the evening, and in this quiet space, you begin to notice the gentle way that time touches your mind. Not as a rigid clock, not as a sudden shift, but as a soft current, flowing with patience. You are not the same person you were years ago, nor are you entirely different. You are a river, carrying memory, carrying experience, carrying the power to shape new channels as you move forward. Scientists once believed the mind hardened with age, like clay left in the sun. They imagined that childhood was the only season for learning, and that adulthood was merely a long plateau of stability. But your brain tells a different story. Every day, it rewires. Every day, it adapts. The cells of your mind, neurons, glistening like constellations in the night sky, send signals to one another, creating paths of thought, of memory, of imagination. And though these paths may deepen with repetition, they never become so fixed that they cannot change. This ability is called neuroplasticity, the living flexibility of your brain. It means that even as decades pass, you can learn a new language, practice a new art, discover a new way of seeing the world. Like water finding a new route around stone, your thoughts can shift, your habits can bend, your understanding can widen. Neuroplasticity is not just for the young. It belongs to you, at every stage of life. Imagine your mind as a riverbed, layered with sediment from years of experience. The deeper grooves are your familiar patterns, the way you tie your shoes, the rhythm of your morning routine, the memories of places you have known. These are reliable, steady flows of water. But every so often, a new rainfall begins, and rivulets of possibility seek new directions. Perhaps you pick up a musical instrument for the first time, or read a book that changes your perspective. Perhaps you meet someone who speaks differently, acts differently, and in that moment, your brain begins carving new paths. It is true that with age, some process is slow. The brain may not sprout connections as rapidly as it did in youth. Yet there is also a gift hidden in time, the gift of integration. While the young may learn quickly, the older mind weaves together its knowledge with context, with meaning, with depth. Experience creates wisdom, not just facts, but patterns of understanding. You do not lose your ability to change, you add to it the power to interpret, to discern, to hold contrast and nuance. Pause here, and sense the river within yourself. Feel how memory flows beside imagination, how habit flows beside curiosity. They are not rivals. They are companions. The grooves of experience give stability, the streams of novelty give freshness. Together, they create a river that is both strong and alive. There is comfort in knowing that you are not trapped by age. You may carry stories from the past, but those stories do not close the future. They enrich it. Think of a tree by a riverbank. Its roots sink deep into the soil, anchoring it firmly. But its branches reach upward, always reaching for new light. Your roots are your history, your branches are your possibilities. Both belong to you, always. Science reveals that the adult brain continues to grow new cells, particularly in a region called the hippocampus, a structure shaped like a seahorse, nestled deep in your mind. This place is tied to memory, to learning, to navigation, both of space and of life itself. Each day, even now, new neurons are born there. Each day, you hold within you the seeds of renewal. Think of these neurons as tiny sparks, flickering like fireflies in the twilight. Some may fade, but others catch hold, forming new circuits, new connections. A habit of daily learning, reading, practicing, reflecting, nourishes these sparks. Movement, too, feeds them. A walk beneath trees, the rhythm of your steps, the flow of oxygen through your body. All of this encourages the brain to keep growing. Even rest, even sleep, gives your river time to clear itself, to settle its sediment, to prepare for new streams. It is never too late. That is the gentle truth of neuroplasticity. A child may learn with speed, but you learn with depth. A child's river runs quickly, carving fast-changing streams. Your river runs with steadiness, carving channels that last. Both are beautiful. Both are alive. Picture yourself standing by a wide river at dusk. The water reflects the colors of the sky, gold, violet, deepening blue. Some currents are familiar, winding in loops you have seen before. Others are subtle, new, trickling in directions you did not expect. The surface looks calm, but beneath it, transformation is always unfolding. This river is you. Your thoughts are not bound by a fixed timeline. They are shaped by what you give attention to. If you linger on fear, the river carves channels of fear. If you turn toward curiosity, the river follows curiosity. Each thought is a pebble dropped into water, sending ripples outward. Over time, ripples become patterns. Patterns become pathways. And yet, no pathway is beyond change. Scientists who study the brain describe synaptic pruning, a process in which unused connections slowly fade, while frequently used ones strengthen. This is not loss, but refinement. It is the brain's way of keeping your river clear, guiding water where it is most needed. It means that your attention is powerful. What you practice, you strengthen. What you neglect, you release. Your mind is sculpted by where you choose to rest it. Notice how this invites a kind of freedom. Even if you have lived many years in one way, you can begin again. By choosing new habits, by exploring new ideas, you invite your brain to reshape itself. Even small acts matter. Learning a new word, listening to a new piece of music, meeting a new person, breathing with awareness. Each is a tributary feeding into the greater river of your mind. Time may move forward, but you are not carried helplessly. You are the river, yes, but you are also the one who watches it. You can stand upon the bank and decide, where shall the water go? Shall it erode the stones of worry, or the stones of wonder? Shall it carve valleys of fear, or valleys of compassion? The choice is subtle, but it is yours. The more years you carry, the more patterns you have seen. You have known joy, perhaps sorrow, perhaps struggle, perhaps triumph. All of it becomes part of your river. And with each new bend, with each new tributary, the water grows richer. You are not less alive because of age. You are more alive, more layered, more resonant. The river widens as it flows. Allow yourself to trust this rhythm. Change does not demand urgency. It happens quietly, like water smoothing stone, like roots weaving deeper. You do not need to force transformation. You only need to remain open, receptive, attentive. The river does the rest. And so you rest here, in this awareness, that growth is not a thing you left behind in youth. It is a companion that walks beside you always. It is in your neurons, in your habits, in your choices. It is in the way you see the world tonight, which is already different from the way you saw it yesterday. The river of your mind flows on, steady and unending. It carries both memory and possibility. And if you listen closely, you can hear it whisper, there is always more to discover, always more to learn, always more to become. You close your eyes, and in the soft darkness behind your eyelids, there is a quiet shimmer of thought. It feels almost like a field at night, dew glistening under a pale moon. Within you, something alive is always shifting, always reaching, a silent network that stretches like constellations across the sky of your mind. The brain you carry has never been still. From the first flicker of electrical activity before your birth, to this very moment of breath, your mind has been in motion. It learns, forgets, rewires, and grows. What seems like a fixed thing, a mind with a shape, a self with a definition, is in truth a living landscape, rearranging itself in ways you rarely notice. Scientists call it neuroplasticity, but you might think of it more simply, as the art of change. Every experience, however small, leaves its trace. A single glance, a gentle sound, the brush of a hand, even a fleeting thought, each can bend the threads of your inner web, altering the architecture of who you are becoming. Your neurons, like stars, send signals in tiny sparks, building constellations of meaning that shift with the seasons of your life. Pause here, and imagine this inner sky. Imagine billions of neurons, each one a luminous point, stretching out into a galaxy that is yours alone. These neurons reach for each other with delicate branches called dendrites. They extend, touch, and sometimes withdraw. Where they meet, they form synapses, tiny spaces where messages leap like fireflies across a summer field. Each leap strengthens a pathway, and the more often it is used, the brighter and more familiar that pathway becomes. This is why practice transforms you. Repetition, whether of a movement, a word, or a thought, is like treading the same forest trail again and again. The grass bends underfoot, the soil compacts, and soon a path is worn clear. In your brain, these well-walked paths become habits, memories, skills. But the forest of your mind never runs out of room. Even in age, even in difficulty, new trails can be carved. It is comforting to know that you are never finished. Intelligence is not a stone monument but a flowing river. The currents reshape their banks, carving valleys and smoothing stones. You may feel at times that you are set, that your ways of thinking are unmovable, but the truth is gentler, more forgiving. Your mind is supple, responsive, always becoming. Consider the way you learn something new. Perhaps you take up a language, or trace the movements of a musical instrument. At first, the paths are faint, the signals slow, the effort heavy. But with time, the sparks leap more readily. The connections strengthen, the trail grows familiar, until what was once difficult becomes natural, even effortless. This is not a trick of talent, but the living adaptability of your brain, its quiet willingness to change with you. Even forgetting has a purpose. The brain cannot hold everything. It trims, prunes, and refines, like a gardener tending to a wild vine. This pruning clears space for what matters most, allowing new growth to flourish. Forgetting is not failure but balance, the graceful clearing of pathways so that others may grow strong. Now think of sleep, that nightly voyage into stillness. While you rest, your brain is far from idle. It sifts and sorts the day's impressions, weaving them into memory. Synapses that were stirred in waking hours replay their signals, strengthening themselves in the quiet night. Dreams, too, may be part of this weaving, the brain's way of testing and stitching experiences into meaning. When you awaken, you are not the same as when you closed your eyes. Subtly, silently, you have changed. This thought can bring a deep peace. You do not need to force your mind to grow, it grows in its own time, as naturally as a seedling reaching for the light. Your role is simply to nourish it, with curiosity, with gentle challenge, with moments of rest. Picture yourself standing before a great library, its shelves endless, its books filled with knowledge yet unwritten. Each day, each breath, you add another page. Your mind is this library. It holds the record of your past, the spark of your present, and the potential of your future. But unlike any library made of stone, this one is alive, shelves rearranging, stories rewriting themselves, doors opening into new wings you had not seen before. And so you live in a state of constant creation. The version of you who listens to these words is not the same as the one who began. Already, neurons have fired, pathways have stirred, subtle traces of change have begun. The shift may be imperceptible, like the slow turning of stars across the night, but it is real. It is humbling to realize that you are not simply a mind that has thoughts, you are a mind that becomes through them. Each thought is both a visitor and a builder, leaving some mark behind. Even when you sit quietly, even when you do nothing but breathe, your brain is shaping itself around the rhythm of that breath. The living mind is a reminder of possibility. If it can change from moment to moment, then so can you. Old fears need not bind you forever. Old stories need not be the only stories you tell. The brain's gentle plasticity whispers that you can always begin again, always move in new directions, always grow. And growth does not mean rushing forward. Sometimes it means softening, sometimes releasing, sometimes resting. A living mind does not need to be filled with constant striving. It only asks to be nourished with presence. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you can rest in the awareness that your brain is quietly at work, tending its garden, reshaping its stars. You do not need to control it. You only need to trust in its living rhythm, its endless capacity to become. The night deepens. The neurons within you hum gently, a cosmic choir echoing the stars beyond your window. The constellations of your inner sky shimmer with potential. You are not finished. You are never static. You are always becoming. And as this thought settles, you sense a gentle question arising. If the mind is always in motion, what does that mean for the story of time itself?